Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Investors Coaching Academy webinar. I believe it's our 7th one we've done now, and the Mondays they soon come round quick. So we're enjoying it, and I hope you guys are too as well. Tonight, I know Peter's got some really interesting topics that he's going to cover tonight. So hopefully you can all learn something. Please as well, connect on LinkedIn, and help it, engage with each other and help each other, because that's what we're all about here. So if we can perhaps go on to the next slide, Peter.
Yeah, right. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see everybody back here again, and also some new faces. We'd love to see the new faces. We must be doing something right when we keep getting the same people coming back. We hope you're learning a lot of stuff, and more about that later. Now, for the new people who don't know me yet, my name's Peter Hogan. I'm a businessman. I've been self-employed since 1974. I've been a property investor for 36 years. I'm an author of half a dozen books. I've got another 2 in the process of being written at the moment, one a novel and one a property book. I'm a mentor, I'm an educator, and hopefully some of that you can find useful, and we can help you to make money, which is what it's all about, making money. Okay, John, would you like to just talk about yourself for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Batmansky. My background is marketing, so I currently run a marketing agency called Adept Marketing Services. We are based in the West Midlands, and marketing, it's all about that creating that USP. It's about communication as well, and what you're communicating. And on the slide now is a few of the services that I provide. But tonight I'm helping Peter with the webinar as always, and excited to see what you've got to say tonight.
Great, thank you, John. Now look, if you've got any questions, write them in the chat box, please, and we'll answer them with the Q&A session at the end. That's so we don't get diverted, or we lose track of what we're saying in the actual webinar itself. So if you've got any questions, we welcome questions. Put them in the chat box at the end, we'll put them there. Also, we'd like to know if, since you joined, and we've been going, 7 weeks or something now, if you've done any deals as a direct response of joining these, we'd like to know. Just put them down in the chat box. We'll have a chat about those. Okay, look, tonight, buying, rent-to-rent, or lease options, which is best? Now, I'm sure you've got your views on that, and you may not even know how to do rent-to-rent or even how to buy or lease options. So we're going to find out tonight. So what we're going to cover is the pros and cons of buying buy-to-let property, acquiring rent-to-rents, and using lease options. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. Why are you here this evening? Why are the people who are here for the first time, why have you come along this evening? The people who've been here before, why have you come back? Why? Look, you're here because you want to gain information, you want to accrue knowledge and information, right? You want to find out more about property investing. But since we started this some weeks ago, there's been more than enough information out there for anybody to go out and do at least one deal. Certainly you could have done more than that. I want to know why people aren't being successful. Look, at some point, you've got to get off your ass and you've got to do something. It's not going to happen otherwise. It doesn't matter how much information you get. If you don't get out there and do something, nothing will happen. You'll never become a property entrepreneur. You'll never do anything. You'll just stay forever in your job. I'm sorry, but that's how it is. And I'm going to tell you something. About 15 years ago, I met a guy at a PIN meeting. I think it was Northampton PIN. And I've seen him regularly since then. In fact, he's now a PIN helper at one of the meetings I go to regularly. And I speak to him constantly. And he's seen so many speakers, he's been on a lot of courses, he's got a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. How many properties do you think he's got in that time? Zilch, not a single one. What a total waste of time the last 15 years has been. If he got his finger out and doing some work, yes, he may have made mistakes. He may have messed up the first one. It doesn't matter. You learn by your mistakes. But now, 15 years down the line, or even if he only started after 5 years, with 10 years worth of experience, he would have a massive portfolio, and he would no longer be working in the menial hands-on job that he's doing. I get frustrated with this. I think why Don't people just get on them? Do it. What on earth are you waiting for? This same guy, that's the same guy I was just talking about. I was talking to him one day at a meeting, and he was telling me about the fantastic place he found, which he was going to convert to an HMO. And it looked good. He was telling me all about it. I said, fantastic. How's it going? How are you getting on with it? He said, I haven't started it yet. I said, well, when are you going to start it? He says, when I get the money. But you know what? When I said to him, you'll never get the money. You'll never get the money because you don't need the money. And you don't need the money because you haven't started it. And it's the same with everybody here. It's no use thinking, yeah, I'll start the mentoring when I get the money. I'll get a house when I start the money. You'll never get the money till you need the money. And until you actually start a project, you don't need the money. The universe is a big place out there. There's some strange things in the universe, and I don't care whether you're spiritual or not. But you get what you want. What you focus on, you get. And if you're focusing on waiting till you get the money, you're going to wait forever. You've got to start your projects, and the money will come. And the money will come because you've got something to show people. You may not get the money, you may not have the money yourself, but you'll find other people who are willing to bankroll you for a percentage of the profits. But you've got to get off your backside and do it. Now I'm going to show you something. Some of you will know this. This is the very first buy-to-let house I bought. I bought this in the middle of March. I bought it at the end of March, 1986. It's in St Helier, Jersey, 23 Museum Street in St Helier in Jersey. And these are the details of it. I bought it for £24,000. Now it was on sale for £24,000, and I paid 20. I didn't haggle. I just bought it for £24,000. I sold it 18 months later for £96,000. So I had a capital gain of £72,000 in just 18 months, plus all the money I've made in the 18 months, because it had a yield of 24%. That place, it was an incredible thing. Now, I'm going to tell you how I got that and how it came about. Because at the time, I had a building company. And I remember it was a Thursday evening. I'd come home from work. I'd had my dinner. My wife and I were sitting in a lounge. My wife was watching Neighbours or Home and Away or something. And I'd just read through the evening newspaper, the Jersey Evening Post, reading through it. And I put the newspaper down and I laid back and I was thinking, the funny thing is, just at that time, that same week, we just paid off the mortgage. I had just paid off the mortgage on our house, so we were mortgage free. I was thinking, what can I do now? We've got a lot of money extra. The building company was doing well. I thought, what can I do? And then I suddenly had one of those moments, a light bulb moment. I thought, why don't I buy another house, convert it into a lodging house? It was then, not HMOs. We didn't know HMOs then, a lodging house. And in Jersey, you're allowed 5 rooms. Why don't I convert it to a lodging house, rent the rooms out, make some money? I thought, that's a good idea. So I turned around and I picked the Evening Post up again, the paper, and I turned to the back pages where the properties for sale on. And that's where I saw that house. Now, and I looked through it and I thought, that's a good idea. I'll call my solicitor in the morning. So I did. I called my solicitor and I said, I need to make an appointment to come and see you because I'm thinking of buying a house, converting it to a lodging house, and renting it out. He said, that's a good idea. Come and see me Monday morning. I think it was 10 o'clock or something like that. So on the Monday morning, I went round to see him. And I'll never forget how I got there, because I went into the office and he said, look, he said, I've got some good news for you. He said, I've got a client who's got some money to invest. She will lend you as much as you want, up to £1 million on a drawdown facility at 10%. Are you interested? I thought, are you kidding? Now, at the time, the bank rate in the UK was 16%. So to get as much as I wanted, up to £1 million on a drawdown facility at 10% was a gift. I said, yes, please. That was a Monday. This was 3 days or 4 days after I decided that I was going to do it. 2 weeks later, not the following Friday, but the Friday after that, I owned that property. So 15 days from having the idea to owning the property, I got it. I had enough money to buy it. I didn't need this lady's money. It was OPM. This is when I discovered OPM. I'd never heard of it as a strategy. My solicitor told me about it. But I then, 4 weeks later, I bought another one in St Helier for £35,000. I just went on from there using this lady's money. It was fantastic. I made so much. And you know what? I used to go home to my wife from work and I used to say, you know what? This is so easy. This property is, as I say, so easy. Why isn't everybody doing it? And I honestly could not understand why everybody wasn't doing it. I mean, all my mates could see what I was doing. They knew the money I was making. You know, I was suddenly driving in one of those fancy red cars. I got, you know, we were making a lot of money, and not one of my friends said, show me how to do it. I want to do that. Not one of them. Strange. But you know what? If I hadn't got off my ass and taken action, I wouldn't have bought the house and I wouldn't have become a property investor. It's about taking action and working on that idea. Everything starts with an idea. You've got ideas. You had an idea to come here tonight and learn some stuff. But what are you going to do with that knowledge? What are you going to do? You've got to take action. Nothing will change if you don't take action. Now let's look at the pros and cons of buying property. So the pros is, well, it's yours for life. So as long as you want to keep the property, it's yours. You can do what you like with it. You know, you can convert it, knock it down, build it. You can do what you want with it, you know, subject to planning. All the equity increase is yours, so you make money on that in the long term. You can use it as collateral to buy other properties, and safe. It's a safe deal. Now, what about cons? Excuse me. And there are some cons. The fact is that it's slow and it's ponderous. You know how long it takes to even get a reply from your solicitor. It takes months to buy a property normally. You need a deposit. You got to proof you say you got to proof you saved it. You got to pay stamp duty. You got solicitors' fees. You got surveys fees. You've got to have a clean credit history. You've got to have proof of future earnings, because when you're buying a buy-to-let, the question will come: well, what if you get full of voids and what if you can't get people in? How are you going to pay for it? You've got to satisfy the bank on those things. You need a plan B. You know, you need to cover that, and you're tied into it. But you know, it's very doable. That's how I started. That's how I started in property. Best thing I ever did by a long way. Now look, let's just mention a few things here. You're an investor, or you want to be an investor, so you never ever buy at market value. I know I did there. It was on at 24,000. I paid 24,000 for it. That's because I didn't know anything. Remember, in 1986 when I started, there were no pins, there were no pin meetings, there was no books on it. Property investment wasn't even a strategy that people knew or talked about. All we knew is there were some people out there that had lots of properties, but we don't know. Nobody knew much about them because it wasn't talked about. There's no information on it. Today there is, and so today we're telling you, never buy at market value. You know, in business, making money is all about buying cheap and selling dear, and that's what you do with property. Buy it cheap. Always buy below value, and you add value to it if you can. Now, you know, I added value to that house. I turned it into a 5-bed HMO in those days, lodging house as it was. So you can do that. You don't have to, of course, because the mere fact of buying it below market value means that you've made that difference up, and you've added that amount of value to it. And I want to say, try to keep to one particular section. Either commercial residential, student-let, social housing, HMOs. Try to keep to one area, one area of investing. I mean, so that you get to know it, you get to know it inside out, rather than trying to butterfly between different strategies and not get it being, you know, the top of any of them. Buying is good for long-term holding strategies. There's no question about it. Buying that first property, getting on my backside and buying it, was the start of 36 years in property investing for me, and I've done so much since then. You just don't not do it. Get off your backside and do it. You need to buy at the right time, and the right time in the UK is now. There's never a bad time. It doesn't matter what the economy is doing, get in there and buy. On the other hand, you don't want to be buying right in the middle of, you know, when the market's going crazy. And you may not have been around in property during the early 2000s, 2003, 4, 5, 6, and property then was crazy. I'm telling you, you'd see a property advertised in the morning, by the afternoon it had gone, it had gone for £30,000 more than it was advertised for. It was crazy. You could get 100% financing, a 100% mortgage. Can you imagine that? You didn't need a deposit, 100% mortgage. And on top of that, you could get £10,000 cash back. And people were just going out and buying 2 or 3 houses a week. And they're all doing it on an interest-only mortgage. And that is where the problem came. Because when the crash came, 2007, 2008, and it went down, by the time the 10 years had run up, they got into the early teens, and it came time for them, the ones who got a short mortgage period, 10 years, time for them to pay up or remortgage. The problem was they couldn't sell the house because nobody could sell anything. The reason nobody could sell a property, was because you couldn't buy it because you couldn't get a mortgage. You were stuffed. And if you didn't have the money, you couldn't pay off your mortgage. And so many investors went bust. More than you can point a stick at, I'm telling you. You've got to be very careful of how you do it. The thing is, don't buy interest only, just because of that reason only. Get interest down and don't remortgage and take all your money out and keep doing that. That you'll get caught. You need to keep your mortgage low down. Keep it low. It'll give you better credit history, and you'll get more properties in the long run that way. Banks like to see that. But if you start remortgaging and taking all your cash out, sooner or later, it'll come back and bite in the backside. So that's the basics of buying property. You know, you've got to think about areas you're going to buy in, what parts of the country, and what parts of the country is it relevant to the particular strategy you want to use. You know, is it great if you're doing HMOs and you want young professionals? Is the area you're doing and the area of the property right for that? Is it right for students? Is it the right area for students? And so on. So keep in mind the area around the country. And also, let me tell you something now. Do not manage the properties yourself. I can't stress this enough. That when I first got in, I managed my own properties for the first 3 years, and then I got out of it. I'm going to tell you something. Don't think you're saving money by managing yourself. You're not. All that'll happen is you'll be driving around in an old Volvo with a ladder on the top and cans of paint in the back, and you'll be working for 15 quid an hour or 10 quid an hour. And that's not being a property investor at all. Listen, the money you save by doing it yourself is the most expensive money you'll ever earn. The money you pay by getting somebody else to manage them for you is the best money you'll ever spend by a long, long way. Do not get tricked into thinking it's great to manage them yourself. It's not. So what are we going to say here? Recommended or not recommended? Yes. Buying is a recommended strategy. And you need to do it the right way. If you don't know how to do it, then come on our mentoring program. We'll show you how to do it, and we'll talk more about that at the end. Yes, it's a very good strategy. I bought, a lot of other people bought, but you've got to do it right. You've got to do it the right way. There's a guy I know, and a lot of other people who've been around for a while know him. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's got well over 1,000 properties, mostly in places like Wales and the North, places like that. And he never, ever, ever pays more than 40% of the value of the property. Never pays more than 40%. And that's a rip-off in my mind. And he takes off people who are desperate. And in my mind, I don't like that. No, that's not a nice way to do it. On the other hand, he's a millionaire. So you make your own choices. But remember, you've got to be fair with people. Because if you're not, what goes around comes around. It'll bite you in the ass. So yes, buying property is recommended. Just do it the right way. So what's next? Rent2Rent. Now, you've heard of Rent2Rent. Rent2Rent has been around a long, long time. But it's not always been called Rent2Rent. The name came about 10, 11 years ago, I guess. So what is Rent2Rent? Well, with Rent2Rent, you find a suitable rental property. You rent it at the lower price than is being asked. You need to do that because you need to get that split between the rental price and the price you're going to get by renting it out. You need to convert it to an HMO. If you're renting and re-renting, you'll never do it on a single let. You can do that when you bought a property because a mortgage payment is much less than a rental payment, but you can't do it when you rent. If you're going to rent a property and try to make money from it, you pretty well have to convert it to an HMO. Don't try and rent an existing HMO. The margins are too small. You won't do it. You need to add value. Rent a large house. You need at least 5 bedrooms, and you need, it needs to be an HMO, so that you rent out the individual rooms. That's what Rent2Rent is. And does it work? Yeah, it works. Of course it works. This is the very first Rent2Rent I got. I got that in 2012. I bought that in January. I'm a great one for having New Year's resolutions. And my New Year's resolution in January of 2012 was to acquire 50 Rent2Rents in that 12-month period. And I got that in January. Now, the guy I spoke to, it was in, I can't remember where it was now. I think it was in Gumtree. I think it was in Gumtree. And I spoke to the guy. The guy who owned this lived in London. And when I asked him why he wanted to get rid of it, he told me he's fed up of driving from London all the time looking after it. So I said, well, it suits me. I don't live far from Reading. At that time, half an hour's drive. So I took that in 2012. Now, I had to convert it. It took 7 people, but for 7 people, 1 bathroom wasn't enough. So I needed to put in another bathroom. Then I found out that the water tank wasn't big enough to supply 2 bathrooms. So I had to put in another water tank, a bigger water tank. Then I found out that the roof joists, the wooden joists in the ceiling weren't strong enough to support that. So I had to put in bigger roof joists and all sorts of things I had to put in there, a bigger water heater, all kinds of things. So it cost me going on 10 grand to do that and to do the rooms, to decorate the rooms. It cost me about 10 grand to do that. I got it for 3 years. My net monthly profit when it was full was 1,500 quid. And my first year profit was 8,040 after you take out the 9,660. Now, the total profit over the 3 years, less maintenance, less voids, and less incidental expenses, travel, everything, was 44 grand. The total profit was probably 25 grand. The total profit for the year. And you might think, well, 25 grand for the year, that's good. That's not bad. No, it's not bad. It's not bad. But I worked hard. I worked hard for that money. I worked hard for that 25 grand, far harder than I worked on the 48 properties I got, or 50 odd properties I got by that time, through Lease Options. But that owner, remember when I said my New Year's resolution was to get 50 properties? Remember what I said, that what you focus on, you get? I'm a great believer in this. What you focus on, you get. It comes to you. The owner called me because I'm doing such a good job with the property. He called me, said he's got about another 50 properties. Did I want to take them on? What do you think I said? I said, no, thank you. And I didn't do another Rent2Rent. I kept that one. It's not a strategy I like. Let's look at the pros. Let's look at the pros here of Rent2Rent. It's cheaper and it's quicker than buying a property. And it's easier if you have bad credit rating, because you can get your foot on the ladder and do it that way. Let's look at the cons though. That's about the pros for it. Let's look at the cons. Now, your rental hire is higher than a mortgage. So if you're paying a mortgage on a property, you'll be paying far less monthly than when you pay somebody else a rent. So there's less profit in it. Now, usually you can only rent it for a few years, and landlords are getting pretty knowing about this now, and they'll only do it for three years usually. Sometimes you get for 5 years. At the end of that, the landlord wants the property back. I'll tell you why they want it back. Because you've got to add value to that. On the days of magnolia walls and a few little bits in an HMO, doesn't work. If you do that, you'll be full of voids. So you've got to spend a lot of value doing a refurb on it. That's the only way you'll limit the voids. Now, when the landlord sees that, and he sees the fact that that he's no longer got voids, or you've no longer got voids, he's going to want that property back at the end of the day. And of course, he gets it back fully refurbed, doesn't he? Of course he does. Now, you've got to add value. You've got to add value to it. And that, of course, is what we're talking about, the refurb. You've got to do it to that. You have to convert it to HMO, and you've got to refurbish it. Won't work any other way. Incidentally, make sure you check in next week, because next week we're going to tell you all about HMOs and exactly how to get them, but what you've got to do to make them, a perfect strategy. HMOs can be a perfect strategy, no question, but you've got to know what you're doing. And like I said, the days of magnolia walls are gone, long gone. If that's what you've got, you're going to go bust. Now, quite often, you've got to have in the contract with the landlord that you'll convert it back at the end, because it may have been a family home when you took it over. He may want it back as a family home when you hand the property back. So you're going to lose more money out of your 3 years income there. So you'll probably find out the worst case scenario is that your first year's earnings and your third year's earnings, you lose. You've lost those because of expenses. You've only got your middle year, your second year's earnings, and you've got to hope you didn't have many voids and it was a decent property in that. Now, of course, you lose out on capital growth, the equity. It doesn't matter what the house's income, what it's worth at the end of your period. You don't benefit from that. The landowner benefit from that. And of course, these days you've got to put up with the council rules, which is mostly Article 4. And we'll be going into Article 4 next week, explaining to you what that is, how it works, can you get around it? And yes, you can, but we'll show you that next week. Don't miss next week's one. So, Rent2Rent. Is it recommended? No. There's much better ways of getting property than Rent2Rent, and cheaper ways, of course. Right, lease options. If you don't know what lease options are, stick around. If you do, good. But a lot of people don't know what a lease option is. And I get asked all the time, but what is a lease option? Well, I'm going to tell you. A lease option is a contract to lease a property with an option to buy. Lease option. Lease a property, option to buy, lease option. And your contract period, the legal contract period, can be up to 20 years. Can't go beyond 20, up to 20 years. Now, I'm going to tell you something. They are not purchase lease options. You will have heard people talking about purchase lease options or PLOs. There is no such thing. Some damn idiot made it up. He spoke about them at PIN meetings, and people call them purchase lease options. Think about it. The purchase price of a lease option is the option to purchase. So if you're going to call something a purchase lease option to purchase, it clearly doesn't make sense, does it? And as soon as you start going around, if you're talking about PLOs and purchase lease options to investors or people with money, and they're in the know, they're just going to think, they're just going to shrug and say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And you're likely to lose deals, and you're not likely to lose financial backing. They are not purchase lease options. There's no such thing. I don't care who you hear using it. You stand up and say, Peter Hogan says there's no such thing as a purchase lease option, and tell them why. Because using the word purchase twice. It's a lease option, and that's it. So where did lease options come from? They came from America, the USA. I discovered them by reading a book by Donald Trump and started doing them in the UK. The book was called The Art of the Deal, and I can recommend you buy it. And that book blew me away, because here's a guy doing all these property deals in Manhattan, making himself a billionaire, and he's doing them all with lease option contracts that we'd never heard about in the UK. Nobody in the UK was doing them. But I thought, wow, this is incredible. He's not buying them, he's doing the contracts. And only when he's added value is he buying them at far, far less than they were worth when he wants to buy them. It's incredible. He made a fortune. It's an incredible thing. And I started doing them. I started doing them in 2010. And I was the first one in the UK doing them. I got the first 7 months I started doing them, I got 48 deals. During the August, I wrote my book, that book there behind me, which has since been updated to include commercial residential. And then I went on the PIN circuit and progressive circuit, and I started talking about lease options. And of course, that's when Simon Zusti and all the other people started learning about them. And that's how lease options started becoming popular in this country. I'm going to tell you something. If I hadn't got off my ass and taken action, you wouldn't be using lease options today. I wouldn't be talking about them today, and I wouldn't have nearly as much success as I have today. I got it. I did it because I got off my backside. I thought, what a brilliant idea. Lease options. Why aren't we doing them here? Has to work here. Works over there. Got to work here. I got off my backside and I did them. It was a lot of work. It took me 6 months to sort out how to do them. I couldn't even find a solicitor to write the contract because nobody knew what they were. We sorted it all out, and that's how we're making money today. And you know, this is what we're saying. When you have an idea, it's going to stay an idea until you get off your backside and you make them work. Take action. We're going to cover that shortly. So I got 48 properties in 7 months. Do you think you're going to buy 48 properties in 7 months? You've had, if you joined our first property seven weeks, our first webinar 7 weeks ago, you've had 7 weeks. How many properties have you got? How many could you have got if you got your finger out? If you had the information to go and do it, don't sit around. So I got 48 properties in 7 months, and the most I paid for any property was 55 quid. Can you imagine getting a property for 55 pounds? And that was in Leeds. That includes the fuel to go and see them, and all the paperwork and the mail costs and everything else. Total cost 55 quid. When you see the figures like that, you cannot even think about doing rent to rent. You've got to get your finger out and get and start building your property portfolio. You know, nobody's going to come along and do it for you. You've got to do it yourself, but we'll show you how to do it. So if you want to get into lease options, well, how do you go about it? Well, you've got to look for motivated sellers. It's people who need to sell or who want to sell quickly. They're the best. I want to tell you something. Not everybody is motivated to sell by money. And if you think they are, you're going to lose a lot of deals. You'll find that people need to sell for all sorts of reasons. Divorce, they've got a new job somewhere else in the country or abroad. They've got to move to be near family, all kinds of reasons. But it's not always about money. So do not go into deals thinking you've got to talk about money, because it's not. You'll find them in estate agents. Almost all my deals I got from estate agents. Again, if you're with us when we're talking about negotiation, we'll show you, we told then how you can get them from estate agents, how you can get deals from every single estate agent you go and visit, and you will. And incidentally, these are now on my website. We'll give you the links to those. I'll send you an email like perhaps tomorrow. They work in any economy. It doesn't matter what the economy is doing. Lease options work. Listen, it doesn't matter whether they're looking for motivated sellers. Perhaps the biggest motivated seller are people who are being repossessed, people who are in the process of being repossessed. They don't want to be repossessed. It hammers their credit rating, and they're trying to sell them before the bank can do it. So if they can sell them, then you know they've still got to move home, but at least they're not being repossessed. You'll get those through estate agents. That's the way to do it. They work in any economy. Usually, when the market's crashing, people want to sell. Sometimes, if the market is rising, they want to sell, but they can't. It doesn't matter. You can do a deal. You'll do a deal there. They work all over the country. I've had people say to me, "Yeah, but you can't do it in London." Of course, you can do it in London. People get divorced in London. People get offered better jobs to leave London and go to Manchester. Of course they do. There's all sorts of reasons why people in London are motivated. Don't repeat stuff that other people tell you without thinking about it, without applying some logic to it. They work anywhere. Incidentally, you will get people saying to you, "Oh, they're not legal in Scotland." They're 100% legal in Scotland. If anybody tells you that, they don't know what they're talking about. They are legal in Scotland. And lease options are massive in commercial property. In fact, deals in commercial property are almost totally taken over by lease option deals now. Perhaps 90% of all deals in commercial property are done using lease options. If you want to get into commercial to residential, which is big money in that, big money in that, you can't do it without lease options. You've got to know what lease options are. And finally, everybody says that they're too difficult. You can't negotiate them. They're far easier to negotiate than people think. Far easier than people think. And we've covered them before. We will cover them again in detail, in more detail in the future. So keep coming back. And of course, if you can mention with us, we'll show you exactly how to do them. We'll show you word for word how to negotiate them. So what are the cons of lease option deals? Well, none that I can think of, really, except possibly that you have to know what's in the contract. Well, you should know anyway. Whenever you negotiate any kind of contract, you should know what's in it, because otherwise, how can you negotiate the contract? And if you've been on a course, a lease option course, or anybody else, or you're thinking of doing it, I will tell you that everybody else except me, when it comes to the question of the contracts, they will tell you just make a list of the points, give them to a solicitor, let him do the contract, and you forget the contract. That's a lot of rubbish. That's rubbish because A, you can't negotiate a contract if you don't know what's in it. But of course, the first sight any of your potential vendors have got of the contract is when a big brown A4 envelope plops through their letterbox. They open it up and they read it and they start seeing the power of attorneys and things like that in there. And they get the willies and they cancel. It happens pretty well all the time. So you must know what's in it. It's absolutely crucial to do any deal that involves a contract. You've got to know what's in it. That's common sense now. You should know that. So let's look at my very first lease option deal. And you've seen this before. This is a block of flats to the west of Leeds. And I got that through a tired investor. I think I'd met at a PIN meeting, or he'd heard me speak at a PIN meeting. He got in touch with me and he had 2 one-bed flats in this block. He wanted to get both of them. Both of them were tenanted. Both of them were managed. I drove up there to see him. I got the both of them for a total cost of 55 quid. I didn't have to do anything to them. I just changed the paperwork. I went to see the managing agent. And the very next month, at the end of that month, the rents came into my bank account instead of his bank account. And the 2 of them together made me 500 quid net a month after all expenses. 500 quid net, 500 quid a month net. That's it. It was as easy as that. And I thought, oh, this is so easy. Why isn't everybody doing it? Are you getting the message here? I hope so. Look, you don't have to own property to profit from it. You can't own it. I'm not saying don't, but you don't have to. The whole point about being a property investor is to make money. It's not to own property, it's to make money. The only reason you're in it, I mean, you don't want to drive around on a Sunday with your wife and kids and, park outside every property you own and look at them and tap yourself on the shoulder. That's not what it's about. You're there, you're in property to make money. And you don't have to own property to profit from it. And there's easier ways to make money than profiting from it. So lease options, recommended? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, a million times. Absolutely. Get into lease options. Look, it doesn't matter what strategy you're thinking of doing, whether it's student lets, whether it's HMOs, whether it's, it doesn't matter. It all starts with getting a deal. It all starts with getting a property. And lease options is the best way of doing it, best way of getting a property. Now we've got all the paperwork and we've got all the contracts anybody needs for any deal. And they're all completely free to our students and business partners. Yes, we charge them otherwise because, hey, we're a business. You'll expect us. We're not going to give everything away. We're a business. You expect us to charge, and we do. But you can get them if you want to. And you can buy them from us far, far less than any solicitor will charge you. And no solicitor. I've seen pretty well all the at least lease option contracts going in this country. And there's not one that gets close to mine. Some of them even miss out the power of attorney. I mean, some of them are real rubbish. Keep away from them. Now, I want to tell you something. John and I are looking for people to work with us in a 50-50 business partnership. 50% to you, 50% to John and I. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? You've got to realize that's going to be the quickest way you'd ever get a business up and running and making it profitable, because you're using my knowledge and John's knowledge, and you're going to do it. Now, one way you can do it, if you want to do it on your own, is mentoring. Now, it's a funny old thing, but a lot of people in this country kind of think that it's kind of a sign of weakness to use a mentor. It's not. Top people in business and sports worldwide use mentors for a very good reason, can guarantee success. You want to know some of the people who've used mentors? Mark Zuckerberg. He was mentored by Steve Jobs. Bill Gates was mentored by Warren Buffett. Richard Branson was mentored by Sir Freddie Laker. Oprah Winfrey by Maya Angelou. Yves Saint Laurent by Christian Dior. Lady Gaga by Elton John. And Freddie, who's now a multimillionaire through property, was mentored by me. So don't think that you can do it without being mentored. You probably can, but it'll take you a long, long time. You'll make all the mistakes that everybody else has already made, and you won't take the right paths. You'll get totally mixed up. You might get disillusioned, and pack it all in. And you probably wouldn't get going when you need to do. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You've heard about Grant Cardone. You've heard of Grant Cardone. Now, Grant Cardone says that he learned that most people waste too much time between an initial idea and its execution. It's critical to stop adding unnecessary time in the middle, he says. You need to go as fast as possible from idea to execution. He's a multi-millionaire, he's a billionaire, Grant Cardone. You can't argue with the guy. And this was a guy, and if you thought he had a privileged background, he was a, did you say undercover billionaire on TV? For 10 years, he was a homeless drug addict. Now, he got out of it and became a billionaire. He did it. He got off his backside and he did it. You can do it, and you've got far more advantages than he had at that time. So why are you here this evening? What's the point of being here this evening? You're going to get information. You get information, right? You had an idea. I'm going on to that webinar, see what I can learn. Good idea. You had the idea, and what a great idea that was. But listen, I want to ask you a question. Is that where it ends? Is that the end of the idea? You got some knowledge? I'm going to tell you something. Every single man-made object that is or ever was on this planet started out as an idea in someone's mind. It doesn't matter whether it was a flint arrowhead or it was a luxury penthouse apartment. It doesn't matter what it was. Everything that's man-made started out as an idea in someone's mind. Now, if the person who had that idea hadn't taken action and converted it into reality, it would never have happened. Now, I've got no idea what percentage of total ideas since man came onto the planet have been converted into reality, but it's an infinitesimally tiny, small amount. Can you imagine what kind of planet we'd be living on if even 1% more ideas have been converted into reality? It would be a vastly different planet. I think you'll agree with that. I'm going to show you something now. I'm going to show you what happens every time you have an idea. It's this. You follow these steps. Whether you think about it or not, you follow these steps. Now, you have an idea, and it could be anything. It could be going to Marks and Sparks and buying a shirt. It could be crossing the road. It could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have an idea, and your idea, your mental footsteps follow this. So after you have the idea, you start to imagine, what if? What if I did whatever this? What if I cross the road? What if I go to Marks and Sparks and buy a shirt? What if? You start to imagine, what if I did that? What if the idea I imagined, what happened if it came true? After that, when you start doing that, you start to build up desire. And when desire becomes excitement, you start to think, wow, I could do that. Like I did, yeah, I could buy that property. I had absolutely no knowledge about property investing whatsoever. In 15 days, I went from an idea to owning a property. You can do it. Anybody can do it. But what happens is you build desire. Desire is a driving force. The desire to have or to convert your idea into the reality. However, you reach a point where you have to make a decision, yes or no. And that decision point is the moment of truth. This is where you think, yes, I can do it. No, I can't. It's all right for other people, but not for me. I can't do that. They can do it. This is where you've got to stand up and be counted. This is the moment of truth. This is where people fail. And we don't want you failing at this point. But if you say yes, yes, I'm going to cross the road. Yes, I'm going to buy that shirt. Then you take focus action. You check there's no traffic coming and that it's clear to walk across. You get your card out of your pocket and you go and you walk up to the cash point to pay for your shirt. That is a focused action. And once you've taken that, you've got the reality. The reality is the achievement. It's having the reality of what your idea was in the first place. And it's exactly that when you go through in business. When you applied for your job, if you're working at the moment, you had an idea, you saw an advertisement in the paper or on TV or wherever for your job. You thought, oh, I think I'll apply for that. Then you start to think, oh, what would it be like if I got the job? Then you start to design, so yeah, I want that job. I'm going to apply for it. Yes, you make the decision. Yes, I'll apply for it. Then you take focused action. You get your CV together. You go for an interview. And there's the reality. You've got the job. But you would not have got the job if you'd have fallen at the decision point, would you? This is it. So it's simple, right? Simple. Well, there's a big problem. The big problem there, and the problem is Nobby. Now, you might not know about Nobby. Nobby is Bobby's pal, and they're little chimps, and they sit on your shoulders. You got Nobby on your left shoulder, and you got Bobby on your right shoulder. And Nobby is a naysayer. He's a guy who whispers in your ear and says, "You can't do that. Are you an idiot? That's all right for other people, but you'd never make that work. You're going to fail. You can't do that. Don't talk nonsense." Bobby is the one on your right shoulder who says, "Yeah, of course you can do it. If other people can do it, you can do it." The trouble is that Nobby, he got a louder voice than Bobby, and he's persistent and he keeps on. And a lot of people listen to Nobby and give in. They listen to the naysay and they give in. Don't listen to Nobby. If other people can do it, you can do it. If I could buy a house 36 years ago in a market that didn't have, listen, when I started, buy-to-let mortgages didn't even exist. There was no such thing as a buy-to-let mortgage. There was nothing. I got into it and I bought a house from idea to having the property, owning it with no mortgage in 15 days. If I can do that, you can do it. You've just got to get off your backside and do it. I'm sorry, but I get frustrated with people who sit around and I don't like negativity. You'll have gathered that about me by now. I don't like negativity. Now I'm going to ask you something else. You've heard this saying, right? Knowledge is king, right? You've heard that? You go to any pin meeting and say, "Oh, knowledge is king." No, it's not. This is some more crap that's spoken by people who are repeating what other people have told them without actually applying any of this to it. Knowledge is not king. You keep coming to these meetings. You've been coming for some weeks. You've done nothing with the information. You go to pin meetings. You've done nothing with the information. What about that guy I know who's been going to pin meetings for 15 years? He's loaded to the gills with knowledge. He hasn't. The knowledge doesn't make you money. It's a focused action you take with the knowledge that's king. It's a focused action. You've got to take action. Yes, you've got to take the knowledge, but you can start off without knowledge and learn as you go. Don't think you've got to know something inside out before you start. I didn't when I got into it. And the funny thing is that once you start doing things, you find you've got a positive mind. What you think, you become. And when you're positive, things happen, things fall into place, things happen for you. Which is why I said, until you take action, you won't get the money because you don't need the money. You don't need the money till you take action. But once you take an action and you need the money, then things start falling into place. And it's a weird old thing, but it happens. Take my word for it. It happens to everybody. Now, talking about ideas, you already had the idea about being mentored, right? I know you have because I planted the idea in your head. Smart, right? I planted the idea in your head and I let it sit there for a while. But almost all of you said, "Yeah, that's great, but I don't need a mentor. And anyway, I can't afford one. I can't afford to get a mentoring." I'll tell you what, you can't afford not to have one. Don't kid yourself. Listen, what if? Remember before when we said imagination, what if I acted on that idea? What would it be like? What if you got a mentor? Doesn't matter where the money comes from. Until you decide you're going to get mentored, you don't need the money. Once you decide, yes, I'm going to join your mentoring program, you'll find a way of getting the money. We'll help you to do that. Then you'll get the money. Once you make a decision, you'll get the money. It won't come to you till you make a decision, because until you make a decision, you don't need it. There you go. Let's go through. Look, the idea, the imagination. What if? What if I took action? Or the more you start to think about it, the more the desire builds. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I want that. I want to do that. What if I got mentored? What if I went into business with Peter and John? How quickly could I have a business and be making money? How quickly am I going to do it on my own? How long have I been sitting there on my own looking at it? How long have I been going to pin meetings and done nothing about it? Time for a decision. Don't listen to Nobby. Make a decision. Say yes. Take focused action. Jump into it, and then you get the reality. Now, if you're thinking about mentoring, you've got to think, what do I want to learn, and who can teach me that? I'm not the only mentor right there by a long way. There are other people doing it. But there's a difference between mentoring and coaching. My mentoring program is a personal mentoring program, which means you learn with me personally. You're not sitting, it's not coaching. You're not sitting in a classroom in Birmingham with 30 other people once a month being told a strategy that you've got absolutely no interest in. That's not mentoring, that's coaching. What you get with me is mentoring. And incidentally, we charge a lot less than the 25 grand that PIN charges you for that, far less. So I want you to remember something. It's in our interest that you are as successful as possible. We want you to be successful. We want bragging rights. Like I got bragging rights about Freddie and Richard and other people. I want to say, see that Ruth Slater? What about Adele there? What about Chris? They came and joined my mentoring program, and they did this, they did that, and now they're this, and that. Now they're rich. We want bragging rights. But also, we want people to show us what they're made of, so we feel comfortable saying, let's go into business. Come into business with John and I, get things going. Let's all make even more money, and you'll make more money that way than ever you will. Don't worry about a few bob for a mentoring program. You need to do it. I'm going to tell you something. Our personal mentoring fees work out cheaper than doing it yourself, and it's far, far quicker. It's far, far quicker. Mentoring is an investment. It's an investment. You're not spending it and not getting nothing back. It's an investment in your financial future, and it's also tax deductible. You're getting money back. It's almost like it's free because you get it back. That comes off your tax. And I'll tell you this, you can even get all your mentoring fees back. Because if you do the mentoring with us and you're successful, and there's no reason you shouldn't be because we want you to be successful, then when you and I go into business together, you and I and John go into business together, we will give you all your mentoring fees back. So you've been taught for free. They are standing black and white or red and white. We're straight up people. So what are you going to learn? Personal property, what do you get with us? We get one-to-one unlimited mentoring with me. You get support in sourcing deals and identifying property investment opportunities. You get guidance in buying, selling, and growing your property portfolio. You get resources, including legal contracts, documentation, and introduction to estate agents. You get training and support in implementing strategies, including lease options. And you get help in developing a successful mindset. Because remember what we said before, once you're successful, success comes. Money goes to, you've heard that saying, money goes to money. Well, you only get money when you're successful, which means money goes to success, really. It's another way of saying it. And that's what will happen. So don't say you can't afford to do it. You may not have the money now. That's irrelevant. Until you decide, yes, I'm going to do it. Now I need the money. Then you'll get the money. You haven't got the money now because you haven't decided you do it. Remember, you can't afford not to do it. If you're thinking of going into any kind of business on your own, you can't afford not to do it. No matter what business it is. You can't afford not to do it. Don't think you can go into business and not do it. If you're thinking, well, I'm not going to go into business, then what the heck are you sitting here week after week for? Why? It's pointless. You may as well go down the pub and get blathered, right? Look, now do you see the potential in working with us? Success breeds success. We're going to teach you how one little success can put you on that upward spiral of positivity to give you massive success. Sooner or later, you're going to learn my life story, which is quite phenomenal. I'm not going to go into it now. We don't have time. We're going to show you that. And you'll learn about that one day. And you'll know why I never take no for an answer and why I never think, ever, I never think I can't do something. And what it is, I have an idea. Negativity doesn't even come into it. I just know I'm going to do it and I go and do it. We can get you to that point. Honestly, we can get you to that point, which is why I say every week, I say, how would you feel if you woke up tomorrow morning and you knew without any shadow of a doubt that you would be 100% successful in everything you attempted? Wouldn't that change your life? That's what I think. That's in my mind. And I got that through personal circumstances. That started going through my mind from when I was 5 years old. And I never, failing at anything, it's never a consideration. It doesn't even cross my mind. I get an idea, I think about something, going into something, I just go in with 100% amount of drive, tunnel vision, because I know I'm going to be successful, and I am successful. And knowing that I'm always successful at things, I feel when I go to start my next project, I know I'm going to be successful because I always am. And we're going to get you to that point. We're going to get you to that point. We can do that. And we can get you to that point very, very quickly. So we're going to give you the skills and the confidence to help you to succeed in property investment and become wealthy. Now, contact us. We do a 3-month, we do a 6-month, and we have a 12-month personal mentoring programs. You choose whichever one suits you. We're not going to tell you. We might advise you, but we're not going to tell you. But we're going to show you. We're going to show you how you can think like that. You can have a mindset like that. We guarantee that you will. If you join our mentoring, we guarantee that you will have that. No question about it. It's a question about it's called reframing. In hypnosis, I don't know if you know, but I've got a diploma in hypnosis. 25 years ago, I did a hypnosis course, a week's course in London with that Paul McKenna. Loved it so much. I then got with the London School of Medicine. I did a whole 2-year course on hypnosis, and purely because I wanted to know how to use words when I'm speaking to somebody in a sales situation. And it's been a massive success. So you can do that. We guarantee that you will. We're going to show you how you can get this success, this thing in your mind. We guarantee that you will. We can change your life and your world, but not if you sit in your ass doing nothing. We can't do it. Nobody can help you there. We want you to, we really, really, really want you to get off your backside and do it. And it's not for the mentoring money. Like I said, that we're not bothered by that. We don't need that. We need you to pay that because we need to show that you got a little bit of go in you. But if you're successful, we'll give you that. We'll give you that feedback. We'll give you that feedback. All right. We're going to have a Q and answer session here. I'm hoping some of you got questions down. I haven't had a chance to look. Have we got some questions there, John?
Hi, Peter. Hi, guys. Yes, I'll have a look through the chat box now. I just firstly wanted to obviously thank you, Peter, and thank everyone else as well for hanging with us this evening. I appreciate we're briefly over time. But just having a look here in the chat box, we do have a question. And it's asked, Peter, after being mentored by you and being a potential business partner, can I still go ahead and do my own business deals too?
Yes, you can. Yeah, we're not, we're never going to stop people doing what they want to do. We want, at some point, you'll think, I don't need to be in business with Peter and John anymore. I can do it totally on my own. Why don't I do it on my own? We're not going to stop you from saying, look, say that to us. Look, I want to go out on my own. It may be that you want to do what we're doing, and you want to form businesses with other people, a multitude of other people. And if you do, that's fine. We never do bad things to people, because what goes around comes around and it bites in the ass. We never do that. I never do that in my life. No, whatever you want to do, you can do it. We're not going to stop you. We're fair with people. We would hope that people who we're in business with will be fair with John and I as well. So yeah, you can do what you want. We're not going to stop you.
Great stuff. And I think just if you have any more questions about that, obviously just please drop Peter a call or drop him a message. And I did put in the chat earlier, if anybody has any questions, whether it's to do with the Rent2Rent, lease options, etc., or the mentoring that we provide, you can book in a free 20-minute, half an hour call with Peter, telephone, Zoom call, and can have a chat and go into further more detail there. And yes, just see Paul's put a question in the chat box, Peter. He says, do you recommend writing a business plan?
Yeah. It's you know what a focus board is. People have heard of a focus board. Or you write things. By writing things down, you formulate a plan in your mind. It becomes easier to focus on it. I've always had I don't have it here in a minute, but I've always had a picture frame on my wall, right in my office, and it says at the top of it, it said, I'm a money magnet, and below that was a crisp, brand new £50 note. And I look at that all the time. I'm a money magnet. Money comes to me, and that's it. It's part of the focus thing. Part of writing a business plan is having it down so you focus on it. It brings it into being. Remember what I said? You're not going to get the money until you need the money. Why? Writing a business plan is a start of you creating something. You're putting down into being what you want, and that makes it easier to make it a reality. That's part of the imagination and the desire part of your decision-making process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not too sure if anyone watched The Apprentice different week, but again, they had that moment where they had to bring the business plans prior to the interview, and I think there's one of the ladies, she only had a few pages, and the interviewer put his on the table, and of course it was a quite comprehensive document, and absolutely, you do need to have a plan really, and it does make a huge difference. And yes, just got another question here. It is with regards to the difference between the mentoring service that Peter provides and the business opportunities that Peter and myself are providing. I mean, the best thing, obviously, just conscious time, is if you can message Peter directly or myself, and then we'll be able to explain that in further detail. Is that okay, Peter, on that point?
Yeah. So what was the question?
Great. It's just the difference between our mentoring and then going into business with regard to the company that we're offering those two services. I just wondered if it's best to perhaps ask now, or whether it's best to
answer now quickly. What's the difference between being mentored and being our business partner? Well, being mentored during mentoring, we will teach you how to do stuff. We will show you, we'll give you all your paperwork, we'll go through all the negotiation, we'll show you how to find the deals, we'll show you how to negotiate them, we'll show you how to set them up, but you have to do them. And all the deals are yours. You know, you can keep the deals, so you can keep a property as an HMO, or you can sell the deal on. Remember that a lease option contract is assignable, which means you can sell the contract on. And the least you're going to get for a lease option contract is 5,000 quid. So, you know, you'll get that within a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. You'll get a deal and sell it on, and you'll get your mentoring fee back as quickly as that. So that's mentoring. If you go into business with us, then we work together. You're not doing it all on your own. We're doing it together. John and I. John will help you with the business side, with our business side of a business website. We'll go into strategies that you haven't heard of yet, that you don't know about. We'll go into the big ones where you need a lot of money to do it, like commercial to residential. You'll earn far more money because you won't be talking individual HMOs. You'll be talking about bigger deals. So that's the difference between being mentored and being our business partner.
That's great. Thank you for obviously just briefly explaining that, Peter. And yeah, just something that is a key marketing tool, actually, and I think it's relevant to property, it's relevant to everything we do, and I just wanted to quickly share that with you. And it's called the pestle analysis. If anyone's heard of pestle analysis, you're obviously welcome to put it in the chat. And what you do, you look at your situation, say as an investor, and you go to the P, so that's political. So you look at any changes in the political environment. You then look at the environmental side. So if there's anything in the environment that's changing, that's not about like the trees, it's about like the business environment. Then look at the S is social. So looking at the social side of things. T, technological, so technology changes, and legal, and then economic. So they're the various points, and one of the things that we will do, and that we do regularly ourselves, we go down all these points and we look at what opportunities are there out us, you know, what properties are up for sale, perhaps what changes in the law, you know, that's coming up as well, and you plan for it. And again, you know, the very good models used by the biggest organizations, and it just helps to guarantee your success. So that's something that you know, we can help you with, and hopefully it's something, you know, you can take away another bit of information that you can have a go with yourselves.
Great stuff. There you go. Okay, well, I've certainly enjoyed this evening. I love doing this kind of thing. I'm so desperate for you people to get out there doing stuff. I really want you to get out there and do these deals. I see Paul nearly almost did a deal this week. You will do deals. If you go out and start, you'll do deals. No question about it. You will do deals, but not until you start. You've got to go out and do it. You've got to go out and do it. And once you start, then it will happen to you. Once that ball starts rolling, you know what it's like pushing a car. If you ever tried to push a car to get it started, once you start, get it, and when it's still, it takes a lot of effort to get it moving. It doesn't want to roll. It wants to stay where it is. But once you get it going, it doesn't say much. You can put one hand on it and just push it, and it'll keep moving. And that's kind of like with a business idea or any idea, really. You've got to get through that idea. Let me see if I can find that slide again, because this is so important. This part, you know, getting the idea. The idea is easy. You've all got ideas. You had the idea to come here tonight, but what did you think you were going to do with the information, or did you think that far ahead? You know, you've got to know what you're doing, and whether you like it or not, or whether you think so or not. Every idea, every time you have an idea, you follow those steps. You do it. It goes in your brain. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. Like I say, crossing the road, you go through those. You've got to get that imagination. You've got to have the desire, and if those are strong enough, and you're not listening to nobody, you come to the decision point, and it'll be, yes, I'm going to make a decision shortly. I've got a decision to make shortly. When this is finished, do I take my dog Charlie down the pub for a pint? I probably will, because Charlie likes a bag of crisps. He gets so excited. I'm not down there for long, half an hour, just gets out of the house. But I've gone through that and the idea. I'm thinking about what it's going to be like down the pub. Do I fancy that pint of shandy? Oh, yeah, come on, let's take Charlie down. So when this is finished, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to take him down the pub. That'll be the focus action. And now when I'm sitting in the pub, that's the reality. Everything you do follows those steps. And once you know that, it kind of makes things easier. Once you know where you are in that decision-making process. But when you get to the decision, that's the moment of truth. Remember that, the moment of truth. Don't listen to Nobby. Don't be put off because you can do it. It may be that you can't do it on your own. Maybe you don't feel confident in doing it on your own. So, join our mentoring program, do it, John and I. We'll show you how to do it. And then you will be successful. And once you're a little bit of success, then you don't need us anymore. As Charlie asked, you don't need us anymore. You can go out and do it on your own. And good luck to you. That's fantastic. So that's all from us now this week. You got any questions? If you have any more questions, email me there, peter@peaker.uk.com. You can call me at any time. There's my phone number then. There's my mobile. And that's it there. This is the same mobile there. You call me. I'm happy to speak to anybody. And I'm happy to get you all going. Next week, we've got a cracking week next week. It's all about HMOs. I don't care what you think you know about HMOs, but the HMO market has changed drastically in the last 10 years. Like I said, you know, a little room with a single bed and a couple of bits of furniture and magnolia walls is out. If that's what you think you can get away with, think again. You can't. We're going to show you how you can do it and what you need to do and how you can make big money from HMOs. So booking next week. We'll send you out the emails, register, pop along, and we look forward to seeing you. Thanks for staying. Thanks for coming. Look forward to doing it. Oh, don't forget, I'll send you an email tomorrow. Most of these are now online on my website. I'll send you the link. So if you missed any, you can go back now and you can read through the ones, watch through the ones that you've missed. See you all next week. John, thank you very much for your help in hosting this. Done a great job as usual. I wish I could speak as well as you, but there you go. We'll see you all next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a great week.